Hello everyone, this is Kat. Welcome back to My Hero Academia Podfics. Today will be the continuation of Paper Agency. This will be part 3. Just like last time, this one does start out with a conversation between Red Tower and Watchman. Need you for a meeting tomorrow. I thought I was quitting all my jobs to commit to one career tomorrow. You can fucking do both. How long does it take to open up a door, give somebody the finger, and then leave anyway? Wow, your old resume makes so much more sense to me now. So is this the new guy? You like him for sure? He made a Watchman joke and asked me about our plans for social justice. I probably just found your platonic soulmate. You're welcome. Hope not. BF will cut him. I can swing by whenever tomorrow, but I'm booked for the evening. What, got another hot date? Sort of. I'm gonna tell him. Tell who what? Wait, shit, seriously? I thought you were gonna wait until you got your license. I did. Are you fucking with me? You'd better not be fucking with me. My exam results got couriered over this morning. BF found me in a dramatic puddle on the floor. I'm officially a pro. Hell yes. Fucking told you so. Yes, you were right. I was wrong. What else is new? Come over in the morning. Meet the new guy. Then you've got the rest of the day. You'd better like this guy. He's already found me 2 more recruits. Good ones, too. Aw, you already got attached. That's so cute. Emotional availability is manly shit. You know who doesn't get attached? Dead-eyed assholes who end up in a ditch after a year on the job. Anyway, you two are gonna get on like a house on fire. Property damage and screaming? As long as it's not my property or me screaming, I'm willing to call it good. Club Jazz was one of those big multi-floor affairs in downtown Musutafu. Every level had a different theme. The level where Bakugou's squad had swung up a VIP party room was backlit with a glow-in-the-dark fish. A lot of people had decorated themselves with body paint, which Hitoshi had not known was a thing, and Izuku somehow had. What's all this? Hitoshi tilted Izuku's face from side to side, careful not to mar his impressive ragdoll-themed face paint. I didn't know you liked makeup. You've been holding out on me. He laughed and shook his head. No, I'm hiding the fact that I don't have cool clubbing clothes, but if I'd known you'd like it, then I'd have tried it earlier. It was true. Izuku just had on black pants and a black t-shirt with a white slogan that read fancy across his chest in white, which shone slightly blue under the lights. Hitoshi had wimped out and recycled the outfit Mike had picked out from the day before, only he had the shirt halfway unzipped, as suggested. You're the fanciest thing here, Hitoshi promised and slung an arm across Izuku's shoulders. A cocktail robot intercepted before they got too far beyond the elevator. It ID'd them and issued them 2 bright pink wristbands marked minor in black so that they could preload with money for non-alcoholic drinks. It was reassuring that the bar, despite the industry's general lax attitude towards Japan's drinking age, took their alcohol sales seriously. Maybe they'd get through the night without someone ending up on the news. The black light was already going to make it tough for someone to get photos. He'd already spotted Ashido, with her shoulders painted in lime green leopard spots, bouncing around on the dance floor with Jiro, who'd foregone the body paint. I think the VIP room is over there. Izuku pointed at a little loft area that was screened off with tinted glass and crowded with young people. They were having some animated laser projections on the glass, lazy circles of schools of fish that made it hard to see from the dance floor. You want to check it out first? Hitoshi nodded and put his height and post-UA bulk into breaking a path through the crowded floor. Izuku followed close behind, holding onto the back of his shirt so the press of bodies didn't close in on him and sweep him away. A robot stood guard at the bottom of the stairs, but it let Hitoshi and Izuku pass after beeping at their wristbands and flashing a green smiley emoji across a faceplate. It was quieter in the VIP room, and the music was muted to a level that allowed for conversation. The floor was littered with squashy couches and enormous beanbags. The rear wall was taken up by a private drink station. Wow, Izuku murmured. How did a bunch of high school kids reserve this? Anything is cheap if you split the cost enough times. Kirishima popped through the crowd, waving a hand. Hey, I don't recognize you. Are you from a different program, or... He squinted and then looked at Hitoshi. Oh, hey, you're the boyfriend. Hitoshi bit down on the urge to growl as Kirishima got Izuku into a one-armed hug and ruffled his hair. Great to meet you at last. Yeah, I guess that's me. Izuku gave Hitoshi a questioning look. Toshi, what did you tell people? Kirishima did not hesitate to rat him out. Absolutely nothing. He'd just smile at his phone and then glare at us, tell us to stay in our lanes when we asked about it. Fat lot of good it did. Hitoshi groused and extracted Izuku from Kirishima's octopus arms. Aw, Kirishima recovered fast. Hey, have you seen Mina? She's on the dance floor with Jiro. Cool, you guys have fun. It was good to meet you. Hitoshi sighed as Kirishima bounced off. Typical. Oh, look, there's Kendo. Izuku waved back, and Hitoshi followed the line of his gaze to a big U-shaped couch where a bunch of the Class B kids were hanging out. Kendo was waving at them from between Tetsu and Monoma. Hitoshi made a beeline for them. He'd learned early on that the members of Class B made a great repellent when it came to the more boundary-challenged members of Class A. I see Kirishima got you at the entrance, Monoma observed as Izuku dropped into the couch that was next to him. Nice makeup, he added and poked Izuku in the cheek. Thanks. Don't mess it up. Izuku batted his hand and flopped over so Hitoshi had to hold up his weight. Real talk, though. What has Hitoshi been telling people about me? Kirishima called me the boyfriend with a real lot of emphasis, like I was Bigfoot. More like a unicorn, Tetsu snorted. No one had time or energy to date, so Class A got really invested in Shinso's relationship because he's the only one who managed to have or keep one, and he wouldn't give them any details, and it drove him crazy. They got invested? Kendo had echoed flatly and turned to give Tetsu a deeply skeptical look before turning back to face Izuku. There was a rumor, around the beginning of the third year, that you guys broke up and Tetsu actually cried. Hitoshi flushed, and Izuku subtly squeezed his hand. The beginning of year 3 had been rough. His parents had forgotten to load money into his bank account for the first month and a half, so he'd been hungry and cranky all the time. They hadn't replied to his calls or emails either for a while, so he thought he'd been cut off altogether and hadn't known what to do. Part-time jobs weren't permitted at UA, and his workload wouldn't have allowed for one anyway, so he'd been getting by on just lunch, meal plans, and whatever Izuku could sneak him, until they suddenly started sending him money one day, without comment or explanation. They're a really nice couple, okay? Tetsu crossed his arms and pouted. I'm sorry you were worried. Izuku had mastered the art of sincerely apologizing for things that weren't really his fault. Hitoshi would have fought him on the subject, but it was a great technique for diffusing a situation in tension. He himself could not manage that level of sincerity when his heart wasn't in it or even anywhere near it. We're okay. Good. Tetsu coughed and forged ahead. Anyway, we met you in second year, so some people, he said with a significant look at Monoma, like to taunt the kids in Class A with whatever they could, including breadcrumbs of information about your relationship, so that made it worse, and it's why you're famous at UA. Monoma refused to look at Tetsu. I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm sure you don't, Kendo agreed. Gosh, Izuku looked up at Hitoshi. You were the one holding out? I had no idea there was so much drama in the hero classes. Hitoshi snorted. The hero department is non-stop drama. You have no idea. Everyone is in everyone's business, and boundaries are a myth. Opening the dorms only made it worse. The Class B kids all muttered truth, and sipped their drinks as one. Izuku got a thoughtful look. Do you want a drink? He asked Hitoshi. Since we aren't dancing right away? Hitoshi nodded. Yeah, whatever juice they have is fine. He looks cute, Kendo cooed as soon as he was out of earshot. Boys in makeup are the best. Some boys, Hitoshi objected. Some boys, Tetsu seconded. I could pull it off, Monoma decided out loud because of course he would. Kendo, do you still have those markers? She shook her head. I gave them to Ashido, Yamomo, and Uraraka. She turned to Hitoshi. I'm glad you brought Izuku out. I had this weird fear we'd never see anyone from our year again after graduation unless we had crossed paths while working, and he's a normal person, so we'd never see him again ever. Izuku's words from before came back to haunt Hitoshi. It's really easy for people to grow apart when they live in different places. He hated it when that punk was right. Class A has a group chat that they're still using. We should make one, Hitoshi suggested. If nothing else, we can share job leads. Oh, nice! Kendo perked up. I still haven't gotten an offer that I like yet, and I know Monoma's still looking too. Hitoshi started to ask Monoma for confirmation when commotion had caught his eye. It was in the direction of the drink station, and a few seconds later a pale-faced Izuku came hurrying towards them, with no drinks and a haunted expression. We need to go, he said low and raspy as soon as he reached Hitoshi's side. I'm sorry. We need to go now. What? Get back here! Unfortunately, Hitoshi got his answer straight away when Bakugou came barging through the clear space in the crowd Izuku had left in his wake. He looked It was hard to remember, sometimes, just how much he mellowed out since their first year until he had a bad moment and Bakugou was having a very bad moment just then. His lips were peeled off his teeth like a feral animal, and his eyes were contracted down to mad little pinpricks. He looked deranged. "Oh, hell no," Hitoshi murmured, and he vaulted himself over the back of the sofa to interject himself between Izuku and the steamroller that was Bakugou in the middle of a bitch fit. To give him credit, Bakugou pulled up short when it was clear Hitoshi wasn't about to move aside for him. A muscle in his jaw ticked. "Move, eyebags." He managed at last past his anger. "I need to talk to that guy." His tone suggested he discarded several nasty epithets before settling on guy instead. "That's too bad," Hitoshi replied coolly. "He doesn't want to talk to you. Why don't you go find your friends and cool down?" Unfortunately, Bakugou wasn't dumb enough to reply to a direct question from him. Instead, he glared over Hitoshi's shoulder at Izuku. "You gonna keep hiding behind a stranger like a coward, Deku? Guess you haven't changed any." "Go away, Kajan." Izuku's voice was quieter than Hitoshi had ever heard it. There was a wealth of history in that little trembling voice that somehow still refused to be cowed. "We don't have anything to talk about." That flipped something, some sort of switch in Bakugou's brain, and he puffed up like an angry dog. "Bullshit, we don't. You think you can just do whatever the hell you want? Your mom is—" Hitoshi went from annoyed to pissed so fast that it hurt. "Back off, asshole. You don't know what the hell you're talking about." Bakugou rocked back on one heel. "Huh." He looked up to Hitoshi, looked him up and down, then his eyes drifted towards where Izuku was holding on to Hitoshi's sleeve. "Not a stranger, then. Man, Deku, you got even more pathetic than I thought. Couldn't be a hero, so you just found somebody new to follow around, that it?" Somebody new? Hitoshi had never asked Izuku if he dated before. For one thing, he didn't want to be that guy, and for another, he didn't want to invite that jealousy into his life. Bakugou, though? He couldn't picture someone voluntarily dating Bakugou, much less Izuku, who was way too nice for that. He couldn't even picture Bakugou voluntarily dating anyone. "That's really funny, coming from the guy picking a fight with a civilian," Monoma drawled. Hitoshi caught a glimpse, just in the corner of his eye, of Monoma's hand running lightly along Kendo's proffered forearm, nabbing a quick copy of her quirk. "I mean, we already knew you were a brute and a bully. Good on you, though. You found a new brand, a new low." Tetsu had a better idea, though. "You do remember that this is a party that your squad spent a lot of time and effort putting together, right?" he pointed out. "You want to explain to Kirishima and Ashido that you were the one who got everyone kicked out because you had to start a fight?" Bakugou's jaw clenched, and he took a shaky step back. Hitoshi couldn't help but acknowledge that alone was a huge difference between Year 1 Bakugou and current-day Bakugou. 3 years ago, the club would have already been burning down. "Whatever, assholes. You don't even know what you're in the middle of," he rasped out. "Neither do you, Kajan." Izuku gently pushed Hitoshi to one side. "What happened between Mom and I is between us. I don't know what you overheard eavesdropping on your mom's phone calls, but it's not your business." "Kajan." "She's worried about you, you dick," Bakugou snapped. "My phone number hasn't changed. She knows how to reach me." Izuku's tone stayed even, although his eyes took on a sheen of tears. "Why do you care? You made it clear what you thought of me in middle school. You don't get to come back years later and pretend that any part of my life concerns you. We aren't friends, and you made it very clear that we never were." Bakugou jerked back. He might have looked less surprised if Izuku had slapped him. It looked for a moment like he might say something, but instead he turned on his heel and took off. The tension drained out of their group. "Do you still want to go?" Hitoshi asked quietly. He wasn't really sure he wanted to stay, but Izuku shook his head. "I'm done with letting him decide where I get to go or what I get to do," he murmured, and that was that. Hitoshi herded him back toward the couch. It'd be a while before either of them felt ready for the dance floor, if at all. Some day off this was turning out to be. He would have expected Monoma to ask the big obvious question, but it was Tetsu. "So, what the hell was that?" He winced as Kendo smacked him. "I've seen Bakugou go off, but that was something else." Izuku shrugged. "I always seem to bring out the worst in him." He sighed. "So he's what? Your ex?" Tetsu flinched as both Monoma and Kendo whacked him. "I'm not the only one thinking it." "What?" Izuku choked and made a big X with his arms. "Nope. No way. We just grew up together. We were friendly when we were little, but it didn't last." Hitoshi felt a knot in his chest unkink itself. He wasn't sure why. He didn't feel threatened by Bakugou. Even if they had gone out, they clearly were never getting back together, and Hitoshi could only look good in comparison. Unfortunately, Kendo hit right at the heart of Hitoshi's unacknowledged worries. Does he know that? He looked really shocked when you talked back to him. No, that's just because I talked back in the first place. I didn't before. It was middle school. I was a lot more timid then. Izuku shook his head. Kachan, though? She pressed. Deku, for that matter? Does that mean what I think it means? Again, he shook his head. It's just a holdover from when we were kids. I called everyone my age Chan when I was little, he explained, but his mouth quirked up in a wry smile. If you ask Kachan, the reason I'm Deku is because I'm useless. Definitely not because he had trouble reading the kanji in my name or in elementary school, and he spent a whole year wondering why my mom kept writing Deku on all my stuff. Oh, man, you do have dirt on him, Kendo whistled low and impressed. It's a shame that we're only finding out about this just now. What do you mean about him eavesdropping on his mom, though? Hitoshi answered that one. Oh, he does it to everybody. He's so loud all the time that you never really notice when he's being quiet. No one in 1A realized he was doing it until halfway through second year. He'd turn up knowing about things about a classmate's home life no one even remembered telling him. Of course, he only ever gets like half of the story and takes it to the worst possible conclusion, then somehow makes it all about himself. Kendo whistled. That does sound pretty on brand. I'm impressed that you guys came out to the party, though. That was scary. I wasn't expecting him to come, Izuku admitted. He never used to like parties. He still doesn't. That was a good thing. Hitoshi wasn't sure putting them together in a social setting again, if he could help it, would be wise. His friends were the ones who planned this. To give him due credit, he'll do just about anything to make them happy. He'll act like he's dying and hide in corners, but he'll do it. Surprisingly, that made Izuku smile. Yeah, that's good to hear. He laughed outright at the group, the look they gave him. It is, though. Kachan didn't know how to make friends when we were kids, not with nice people anyways. I really worried about that. The mean kids just followed him around like TV goons, and he could barely remember their names. Oh, that hasn't changed, really. Hitoshi made a face. He wondered if Izuku was one of the people who'd followed Bakugou around. It sounded like he was, at least for a while. Hey, do you still want a drink? Hitoshi tried to be casual with the question, but failed. Izuku squinted at him. You're not planning to go look for Kachan, are you? He asked with skepticism. We don't need to make another scene. No, I'm going to go get drinks and come back. Hitoshi carefully did not promise to not do anything between getting drinks and returning. He must have made a convincing look because the suspicion eased out of Izuku's face. Okay, can I get a water, please? Hitoshi made sure no one in the group was looking before he started scanning the dark corners of the VIP area for one spiky blonde head. It didn't take much doing. Bakugou was back to sulking by the drink station where he must have encountered Izuku in the first place. Unfortunately, Kirishima seemed to have gotten to him first. They were standing close and deep in conversation, partially hidden by a big statue of an angelfish. Curious, Hitoshi got closer and used the statue as cover. It was quiet enough then that deep into the semi-soundproof room that he was able to eavesdrop with ease. Happened, Kirishima was talking. Aoyama said that you went off on someone. There was a pause before Bakugou's gruff voice said with an uncharacteristic shame. Deku's here. Deku? Kirishima sounded at a loss for a second before the penny dropped. Deku? He hissed. Are you serious? Are you okay? Hitoshi frowned. Why the hell wouldn't Bakugou be fine? He was the one who started yelling. I'm fucking fine, Bakugou snapped. So that would be a no, Kirishima sighed, and must have done something judgmental with his expression. Don't pout, bro. It's not manly. Was he, did he look okay? Bakugou didn't answer right away. Yeah, he admitted at length. Doesn't look like he's been sleeping rough or not eating. Okay, good. That's 2 worries we can take off the list. There was a fleshy slap. Kirishima must have clapped Bakugou on the back. Hitoshi got confirmation in the hushed snarl that he got as a response. So, how did it go? I mean, I can kind of guess. Can you give me the details, though? He got the drop on me, Bakugou muttered, almost inaudible. I was getting a soda, looked up, and there he was. We just fucking stared at each other, and I was gonna... but he rabbited, pissed me off, and then we had a scene. Eyebags was there. That copycat fucker was shooting his mouth off, and Deku said... He went quiet and then muttered. Anyway, I didn't do it. I fucked up and I said a bunch of other shit instead. Can we not do this? Hitoshi had a personal theory that UA had been a good environment for Bakugou, although clearly not as easy as one would assume at first. He'd had all the hallmarks of that one kid who dominated their middle school, and so he had no idea how to compete with kids at his own level when he got to high school. It might have Gone beyond that, Kirishima and Ashido were not followers. They were happy and easygoing, sure, but they also didn't put up with stuff they didn't agree with, and Kirishima at least had a very strict code of behavior. Aw, bro, Kirishima sighed. I'm sorry. I know that's not how you wanted it to go. It's whatever. Hitoshi could almost hear Bakugou's shrug. Hey, man, don't. Kirishima stopped and tried again. This isn't meant to be mean, but do you have your regulator on? The silence he got as an answer was leaden with guilt. I thought there was going to be drinking. Bakugou's tone was hushed and rough, like he'd addressed it to the floor. So I shut it off before I came. Bro, we picked this place specifically so there wouldn't be drinking. Well, I didn't fucking know that, Bakugou snapped back. Kirishima took a deep breath and probably counted to 20 or whatever you did when you'd made the poor life choice of being Bakugou Katsuki's chief minder. Okay, that's on me. I should have said, you can't read my mind. Sorry, bro. Don't fucking apologize. That was Bakugou for, it's okay, but what did Hitoshi know? Okay, first order of business, turn the regulator back on and get that rage juice back under control, Kirishima said. You're going to feel bad enough already. Ugh, I'm going to be a zombie for the next half hour, Bakugou grumbled after a lengthy pause. That's why you're going to stick with me until you even out. The party just got started. You can have plenty of time to have fun, okay, bro? This fucking sucks, Bakugou grumbled. I know it does. Kirishima's tone was low and reassuring. We can't help the messed up stuff our brains do. He paused. So, you said Shinso was with Deku? Yeah, what about it? Was he a little guy in black with kitty face paint? That's ragdoll paint, you degenerate. Bakugou stopped himself and continued at a more normal volume. I mean, yeah. Holy shit, bro. Hitoshi couldn't tell if Kirishima sounded delighted or scandalized. You went off on the boyfriend. Bakugou made a noise eerily similar to the one that Izuku made when Tetsu had asked if Bakugou was his ex. All right, so Hitoshi definitely had nothing to worry about. Deku? No fucking way. No, man, really. Shinso introduced us when they got here, Kirishima insisted. How can you get mad at that face? He painted his freckles like kitty whiskers. I said it's not. Ugh, could you not press my buttons right now, you asshole? Bakugou's normally graveled voice was starting to slur a bit. Sorry, bro. Kirishima seemed genuinely apologetic. So, this is good, though. If he's with Shinso, then we can find him later. Then you can try again. Shinso can even set up a meeting. Huh, that wasn't going to happen. Don't hold your breath, Bakugou grumbled in an eerie echo of Hitoshi's own thoughts. Eyebags wouldn't even tell you his name. You think he's going to set up a meet? Hell no. Well, I can't believe I'm going to say this, Kirishima groaned. But maybe using your words isn't the best plan. Just this once. You already said a lot, but you're more of an action kind of guy. Maybe lean into that. Hitoshi wanted to keep listening, but he was very aware of the passing time. He left his spot by the statue and circled around so that he approached the drink station from a different, non-suspicious angle. He spotted his quarry still talking. But they spotted him too, and that time Kirishima made a shushing gesture at Bakugou who turned to scowl in Hitoshi's direction. I'm just getting drinks. I'm not here for round 2. Hitoshi lied before visibly dismissing the pair of them from his attention. He also pretended not to hear Kirishima trying to get his attention before he left. He already had enough to think about and had reluctantly come to the conclusion that he was going to need to tell Izuku about the conversation he overheard, which meant confessing to the fact that he'd overheard it. Fortunately, he hadn't been gone long, so anyone felt like they needed to look for him. Uraraka had joined the group in his absence, though. No, but really, she was in the middle of an impassioned argument that only Izuku was really paying attention to. Kendo was in the process of using a reclaimed face marker to give Monoma winged eyeliner, and Tetsu got sleepy, if he had to sit still and listen to people talking for too long. Muay Thai is so much better than kickboxing for heroes. But grappling, though, Izuku insisted before he spotted Hitoshi. Toshi! Here you go. Hitoshi handed Izuku his water bottle before assuming his rightful spot on the couch. I see you and Uraraka found each other. We've adopted each other, Izuku informed him with gravitas. Please be kind to my new sister. It wasn't such an outlandish notion, Hitoshi realized as he looked back and forth between Izuku and Uraraka's shining expressions. Aside from coloration and gender, they were basically the same person, with their big earnest eyes, compelling smiles, and their ability to turn into stone, cold badasses on a dime. Hitoshi gave Uraraka a mocking bow. I'm in your care. I might be in your care after tomorrow, she laughed. Oh? Hitoshi couldn't say he hated the idea of working with her. Good news. We'll see. Let's just say you were right about that time traveler thing. It's hilarious. Guys, details? Izuku looked back and forth between them. Later, when I'm not afraid of jinxing it, Uraraka promised. A flicker of light caught Hitoshi's attention, and he looked up just in time to see Kirishima hurriedly stow his phone and pretend that he totally hadn't just taken a picture of their group, or was it of their group? They had been awful concerned about being able to find Izuku later. Kirishima was hiring on full-time with Fat Gum's agency, and they had close ties with the MPD. It was not outside of the realm of possibility for him to just be able to track somebody down with nothing but a cell phone picture. Ugh, more drama. I wish this class would stop proving me right about crap, he thought, and he let his weight fall onto the side so that a laughing Izuku had to prop him up. The rest of the night was mercifully drama-free. They all went onto the floor together, where Hitoshi discovered that Uraraka was also enthusiastic of a flailer, so dancing with her and Izuku at the same time was like supervising two incredibly energetic puppies. He was too tired to ask about Izuku's big romantic reveal. By the time they had stumbled into the door of his apartment, they barely managed to wash up and change before falling into bed, tangled together. For once, Hitoshi had no trouble falling asleep. He was out the second his head had hit the pillow. All right, everyone, this concludes part 3 of Paper Agency. Part 4 will be next. Hope you all are still enjoying this one, and as always, thank you all so much for listening.